You know, you watch the show The Wire, and Omar said, if you go after the king, you best not miss. That's exactly what the Yankees did. They went for their biggest rival. Finally, a chance to redeem themselves and their fans, and they completely missed. They get swept, end their tragic season on Sunday night, getting swept by the Astros. And they truly, I wouldn't call it a blaze of glory. They just went out in a shitstorm and got as bad as it got. And we have a lot to reflect on tonight. But also, we can give props to the Philadelphia Phillies, but also as on the guy on the other side, I know probably didn't want to see that either. So it'll be a therapy session for the both of us and everyone else in all of New York sports. So, but to focus on the Yankees, they just, like I said, I'm speechless for what happened, and it is time to reflect on it. So we're going to reflect on the Yankees losing their season in a tragic circumstances, look at the Phillies defeating the Padres, and say a quick few words regarding the 2022 World Series. But it doesn't have to be all negative and sad today, because we like to talk about sports, but there's also some better things and good life updates. So I'm so happy to say that my guest, great friend, one of my closest friends in this world, Alex Young, is here, and he's also an engaged man. Yep, Alex got engaged to his longtime girlfriend, Sydney, on Sunday as well. It looked like in a beautiful pumpkin patch, and we say congratulations to them. So I present to you the engaged man, Alex Young. What's up, dude? Before we get into our sad sports stuff, how are you feeling after this monumental weekend in your life?
It's great. I feel great. It went down Saturday. Sunday we celebrated at the pumpkin patch. Took some more pictures, but it went down Saturday.
Sweet.
So it was hectic to get there. We were in Sleepy Hollow. It's one of Sid's favorite spots. One of my favorite spots. Halloween. She likes that. I like that. I love the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. There's an old Dutch church. If you've seen kind of the Sleepy Hollow movie with Johnny Depp and all that, Tim Burton, like that church scene, that's kind of like the church is kind of noticed in that, right? That's kind of like where some of the inspiration for the church was. So it's one of our favorite spots. We've heard the Legend of Sleepy Hollow told there many times. So it was hectic getting Sleepy Hollow, a lot of traffic. Halloween, I didn't think it was going to go down. The grounds closed there at that place at 4:30. It was just very hectic. We finally got there at 3:45. Ran to the church. A lot of people were there. Luckily, I found that quiet little spot. I know, Matt, you posted it on your story. You can see it there. Find that quiet little spot. I asked her, and it was perfect. It was nerve-wracking to get there, but everything after was perfect. Everything went extremely well. I'm just so thankful how the day went. I couldn't ask for a better day, and now I'm an engaged man. It took a little while. Sid was asking me for a little while. But I'm happy with this huge life decision I made, and looking forward to planning a wedding now. That's kind of crazy. I didn't think about that, but I'm just enjoying the moment. We had such a fantastic weekend. Like I said, we, proposed her on Saturday, celebrating Sleepy Hollow with our families. And then, Sunday we went out to a pumpkin patch and hung out and got to celebrate and take some more pictures there. So I just couldn't ask for a better weekend. And it's just crazy. It really is a crazy time, but I couldn't be happier right now.
What a beautiful story, Alex. And you deserve all the fanfare and all the great vibes from that. Like that was really beautiful to see. And like I said, in this world where we complain about the Mets and Yankees, but also with the Giants and Jets, to get mad at this story in the news and this and that other story in the news. It's nice when we can enjoy simple moments like this. And now you are on your way to even more special things. I'm so happy for you, my friend, and I'm sure these listeners as well. And wow, dude. And it seems it's never, I don't want to say always, I'm not in that position yet, but like with these engagement stories, it seems there's always a It seems like it's always in 3 acts or something.
Yeah, it really is crazy.
Does it ever go perfectly smooth?
No, and that was the thing. Like the funniest thing, and down the line, I'll give you the same advice I got from some of my closest friends. Right, like my closest friends who all got engaged recently or have got engaged in the past are like, you can plan the most perfect day. There is going to be something that comes up that will throw it off. And my thing that threw it off was all that traffic getting in Sleepy Hollow. I thought Sid was going to get so frustrated at some point that she was just going to ditch going to Sleepy Hollow. We were with her sister and her sister's boyfriend. We were going to show them Sleepy Hollow because they really haven't explored it. And I thought at some point she's like, you know what, we're going to get out of here and we're just going to go to the restaurant. I was like, oh, now I'm going to have the poster in front of the restaurant. That's what I thought. It like never goes right. Everyone told me there's always something that comes up. My curveball was just a ton of traffic getting into Sleepy Hollow. But, like everyone said, once you kind of get through all that stress, like just the moment is always so great and perfect and everything you hope for. And that's what I was happy about. It's like I got thrown a curveball and everyone else that I've talked to all got thrown curveballs. But at the end of the day, they were all happy with how it ended, and I'm extremely happy with how my engagement went. And so they never goes right. Advice to everyone is not going to go. You can plan literally the most perfect to a T. Have a plan, everything ready to go. Something will come up. Just be ready to adjust and make it as perfect as you possibly can, because something's going to happen.
What a moment, dude! What a moment! And before you know, you're about to do it in the traffic.
yeah. I was thinking maybe on the car right there, just get it out of my pocket. I didn't know. It was getting crazy. It was getting crazy, but I'm happy that everything worked out in the end.
All right, buddy. All right. Look at that. And again, congratulations to you, Sydney, and your families. And we're definitely excited for the great future ahead. And better you did it there than some sporting event that would go viral.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Something would go disastrously wrong if I did it at a sporting event, which is why I didn't want to do that.
Awesome stuff, Alex. Congratulations again. So, on to other things, but we'll still make the most of it. I won't, because I actually wrote this as both a reflection for both the Yankees and Mets, because it was tough exits for both of us. And we both ended up with exactly 101 win, or the exact same regular season and postseason win total. I believe so. But to focus on the Yankees last night, when you, me, and Leo, and Leo had to work this morning, so that's why he wasn't able to join us. We thought that this team had so much momentum coming into it. We thought this team, despite understanding on paper the Astros were better pitching, starting pitching, better offensively. Their manager makes better decisions clearly. But we still thought with the momentum coming into it, winning a great series against Cleveland, and the layoff might affect the Astros. Well, they're still undefeated a week later in this postseason. And the Yankees going out the way they did on a sweep on 4 winnable games, arguably. You can't make it up. And, I want to just focus first on the sweep itself. Where do you think it all went wrong? I think I'll go back to game 3. You say when you lose at home, you're in real trouble. And you see Harrison Bader and Aaron Judge had the miscommunication in the outfield in the third, I think third, fourth, fifth inning, whatever. It was the pivotal moment of the series. Harrison Bader drops it. I guess there's a solar eclipse with Judge, and he just didn't see it. Garrett Cole's pitch on the mound, our ace, when we need him the most. He said, "I got you." Gives up a home run to the 9-hitter, and then we just couldn't go back from there. And with a mixture of the bats being with the offense missing and everything else, I think that was where it all went wrong, and we're in this position now. Where do you think it all went wrong for you?
I kind of agree with game 3. There were some moments there yesterday, and obviously I had a long weekend, so I told you I fell asleep in the 8th, but I kind of thought yesterday you guys kind of had the win. It looked like you guys had the momentum, especially after the Harrison Bader home run. And I knew the sweep was incoming after that error by Glaber. I can't remember what inning it was. but he got to rush the toss. And IKF,
game 4.
Yeah, and like IKF kind of came off weird. Yeah, this is yesterday in game 4, and IKF came across weird. I don't know why he kind of went. He came across the bag odd. It was just like if you're trying to get a double play, he kind of did some weird lines. So like Glaber tossed it where he like thought IKF should have been, and IKF was like above that, so it just sailed into the center field, and I knew right there, the first through the bangman play at first when they called the 2 base save. Then after that, he gets over to third, and then I think it was a single. I can't remember who the single. They tie the game. Then there was another double or single, and they take the lead. And I knew right after that, I was like, "This is it." And it was the Astros clutch hitting. They took, and this is what they did all series, right? They took advantage of mistakes by the Yankees. And yesterday was that prime example. The Yankees are up. They kind of have the momentum. The fans are into it. And then what happens? Pivotal error, gets the tying run on the third, and the Astros took advantage. And then they ended up taking the lead inning and it's held it on. So, that you could look at game 3, that moment Cole kind of giving up the home run. I kind of was like, this, that's the guy you need to win at home, have a big game. He gave up a crucial home run. And then yesterday, when I thought you guys might be able to save the season and battle another day, that error, kind of told me at the end of the day, I was like, this is going to be a sweep. As unfortunate as it was, and it wasn't like it was a huge, like you gave up a 3-run home run right after that. It was still a 1-run game, but the momentum was all in the Astros right after that inning. And I was like, I don't think the Yankees, the way they've been hitting, are going to be able to get themselves out of it.
And it was so frustrating that the Astros, the bullpen, which we talked about, which would be pivotal, they somewhat held their own.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those runs were unearned because of the bad fielding. I really didn't expect the defense to be a crutch for the Yankees in this series. And, until game 4, we were able to hold Altuve, hold Alvarez. I mean, really only Bregman and Pena was the ones who given us problems. And that's what just angers you even more, that these were winnable games. Like, they did not run away with it. And, the best teams make the least amount of mistakes, and they don't let their mistakes get taken advantage of, like what happened with this Yankee team. And then I said it was the killer was no offense whatsoever. It was pretty much only Rizzo and Bader of all people, who was supposed to be the
defensive specialist. But I did tell my friend with Bader when that trade went down, I'm like, he does have a good swing. He does have a bat. If he could, kind of tie everything together, he will be like a top 5 center fielder in baseball. There's no doubt in my mind. And this playoffs, he showed he has a bat. Like, he can hit consistently. So, it's unfortunate that you're going to take a guy who is more known as a defensive presence. You're going to take how great he's been offensively to take that to your advantage and try to win a series with that, or run and get some wins in a series in the ALCS.
Definitely, dude. And I mean, Judge didn't step up when he needed to. Stanton, after a good ALDS, was nowhere. Glaber again, not getting clutch hits. The Josh Donaldson, clearly the GOAT of this series, and not the good GOAT, with all his major strikeouts. And then we have Matt Carpenter. They were trying to get a Kirk Gibson moment, and it was the complete opposite. Only 1 for 9 in the series with like 7 strikeouts. And then we have to talk about Aaron Boone, who, since Aaron Boone became the manager in 2018, I thought he was a fine hire. It came out of nowhere, but he won 100 games first 3 years. COVID season, that's different. But and then 2021, when that was I can't pick what was a worse season, last year or this year. And this was really the heel turn for me with Boone, with so many questionable bullpen decisions. He had to change the lineup as much as he can. I get it. They had major injuries and you just can't stop that fate. But Aaron Boone really had a very bad ALCS. And I actually heard the press conference. He got pretty emotional, upset, but there were so many weird decisions he made, and especially how he constructed the lineup, who he decided to play, who he benched. What a weird time for him. How do you feel about Boone's performance in this postseason?
I'm not as a diehard, you're a diehard Yankee. I'm a diehard Met fan, right? So I'm not like observing every little nuance with the Yankees.
Yeah.
But no, there's definitely some questionable things with Boone that I saw. There were times where I felt like his feel of the game was a little bit off. And there's sometimes it's tough, right? Because like the bullpen at times have been shaky, so it's kind of they didn't have a reliable arm. I mean, Loaiza was great in this postseason. He really was.
Yeah.
And he held his own. So like he was like the reliable guy, but you didn't know what Clark Schmidt was going to do. You didn't know what Holmes was going to do. There's certain things. So he kind of had his back against the wall. Chapman wasn't there, and as unreliable as Chapman's been, that's still a good lefty. At times you could match up, right? Like,
Yeah.
he
What
wasn't
else
around.
do we have to lose?
So it was tough on him, but yeah, there were just some weird moments and decisions that he had. Um, you know, and also, yesterday with Nestor, it's unfortunate he got hurt because it kind of threw the whole dynamic of the game out. I know he gave the home run, he left with the groin injury, and then you kind of relying on your bullpen there. But yeah, it was definitely a shaky performance for him throughout the postseason. I mean, the Guardians gave him a challenge at times. You thought for a little bit that the Guardians could upset the Yankees, and none of us thought that was going to happen. There were a slap hitting team that killed you with 1,000 cuts kind of deal. They just didn't have their own power, but they almost put the Yankees at a brink, right? So there's definitely weird moments for Boone this postseason. I still think he's a pretty solid manager. I don't know what's going to happen in the offseason. I know they extended him. I think he'll stick around. I guess Cashman's sticking around. It's tough to see what's going on with that. But yeah, no, it was definitely a shaky postseason from just at least from what I saw watching this. And obviously you get swept by the Astros. And that's never a good look at all.
They have our number.
For a manager. Even if the team has your number, you should be, trying to be competitive. And yeah, you had your chances of winning games, but there's some things that happened and some managerial choices that didn't work out, and it is what it is. But at the end of the day, yeah, I would say it was shaky, but I didn't think it was like terrible. There's a lot of Yankee fans. Oh, you need to fire him. I think he's still a decent manager. I think he's proven that. But yeah, for sure. This year, obviously, it's upsetting that your season ends getting swept by your biggest rival right now.
And what even is a rivalry when you keep losing to them?
Exactly.
Anymore?
They have your number, and you don't even get a win this year in the matchup that we all wanted. This could be the team that could get their revenge. They get swept. It's just not. It's not a good look for the manager. It's not looking for the team because it just shows at the end, like the Astros are better than you, infinitely better than you to sweep you. And it's in a series that we all thought was going to be competitive, that could go to distance, ends in 4. That was just kind of the thing. As a baseball fan, it was extremely disappointing, just because we were all like, "Oh, this is going to be a battle. They hate each other. This is going to," we're talking today. We should be talking a few days from now, not today. We're talking today, and that's the thing that's unfortunate.
Yeah, this branches off to my point about the Yankees' issues internally, and definitely a good way to start it with how you feel about Boone, Cashman. Listen, am I turning into a Super Saiyan and bringing in rage? Not necessarily today. Maybe later on, but probably right away I did. But this just ended about 12 hours ago, and like it's a real shock. And the way I look at it now is this: I think you have valid points about Boone being a solid manager. Clearly, as good as he gets when it comes to the regular season. But the baby Bombers era started 5 years ago. And this probably is more of a criticism of Cashman than Boone itself, with the exception of some of the questionable decisions he made in the bullpen and lineups. But when you have this lineup that's been relatively the same, home run first, you have only one real ace of a pitcher. Nestor's good, but he unfortunately got hurt, didn't step up when we need to. He had at one point a solid closer, Chapman, and clearly dwindled as the years went by. And you get most of these power hitters. You add some lefties in there when Rizzo came by and such. But mostly you add these veteran players who are essentially past their prime. And it's true when you define insanity, when you try something multiple times and you think it's going to change, but the same result happens. That's what this roster is right now for the Yankees. And for that reason alone, where we are in our 5th straight early postseason exit, where 3 of them are results of ALCS exits, it's time for the Yankees to have a major change. And I know I'm not the only one who feels that, but Cashman, you are no doubt a Hall of Fame general manager who deserves a ton of respect. Been with the organization since 86, and you've been in the GM role for 24 years now. That's a long time. And to be fair, though, that first half is so much better than the second half, especially the last 13 years. And you were able to rebuild this team when they became competitive, but now it's 5 years of this. What else are we going to keep doing? You bring another manager in, more analytics and stuff, but one of the most eye-opening things I'll show you here is I'm going to show for those listening. Basically, it's just a chart of the front office. As you see, the Yankees mostly have front office members. The GM hired in 86, assistant GM hired in 01, VP assistant general manager 05, and so on and so forth. You have people who were hired in the mid 2000s, while the Astros, they've had their jobs in less than a few years, and look what they're at. They made their 6th straight ALCS this year, and they're in their 4th World Series in 6 years. Something has to change. The Astros did it. Why can't this Yankee team do it? And having said that, I do think the Yankees are going to never give Cashman a contract because they just love him, and that's how it goes in this world, especially in a corporate world in sports. And I guess it really is up to Cashman to decide if he wants to come back or not. But let's just say I think it's time to give it to somebody else. Try someone new. Get these new people. If you want to go analytics, fine, even though I'm not too crazy about it. If you want to come up with some special strategy that no one's heard of, do it. But these veteran power hitters who only hit home runs, and we don't have solid aces on this staff, has led to more disappointments and more disappointments. And soon they're going to burn down Yankee Stadium. So it's time for a change, man. And I say that as level-headed as I can be. And if this new GM wants to come in and replace Boone as well, so it's his regime, that'd be fine with me. Because what else do we have to lose now? The Astros will forever, roast us. We could beat 29 other teams, but not this one. It's a joke, dude. I think Yankees need to make these changes internally.
I kind of agree. I don't know. It's tough. It's like either Cashman and Boone have to change the way this lineup is constructed and be more of the modern game, right? Like for a few years, hitting home runs out of the park, and that was your offense, was a lot of teams work. A lot of teams followed that. We saw a lot of home runs go, for a lot of different teams. That was their strategy. Yankees were doing that too, right? And they had that for a while. But now it's starting to shift towards kind of the balanced style of baseball again. You look at the Guardians. They didn't have power. They had some power hitters, but they got on base and drove in runs when it mattered. The Mets, they kind of were relying on the long ball at times this year, but they kind of tried to build a lineup that got people on base so that the others could drive them in. You look, across the Astros. You see the Astros right now, the World Series. They're not the most daunting power hitting lineup team we've seen, but they have guys that have pop. But we saw throughout this whole series with the Yankees, they hit the singles when it mattered. They hit the doubles when it mattered. They drove the runs, right? So, they have a very balanced team. And the Yankees were still sticking out with this home run or bust lineup. And it's kind of like enough's enough. And I understand you had injuries where some of the guys where you had that slap, like the Benintendi's the world to slap on and get on base, and they weren't, crushing home runs. Like you were missing some of that. But this whole lineup, if you look from top to bottom, is a lot of power hitters like Rizzo, Giancarlo, Torres, Donaldson. I mean, Judge obviously had a great year, but there's not a lot of guys in the lineup that you have that aren't, these slappy kind of hitters. Harrison Bader was known for his defense. He just went off in this postseason, right? IKF. Up and down, so And you don't really have a balanced lineup. And that's the thing. If they're bringing these guys back, I think they have to start constructing a lineup that helps Judge and Giancarlo drive in runs by getting these guys that can get on base. Yeah. I think that's the thing. You have to scrap this whole home run or bust lineup, because you look at the averages in this postseason. This is the whole postseason. Harrison Bader leads with batting average at 333. The next person is IKF at 278, Rizzo at 276, Giancarlo at 188, Glaber 176, Judge at 139. Okay, all of them, the guys that should have relied all this postseason, came up short.
Sad,
right? So it's bad when Harrison Bader is leading in your batting average as your team, right? So I think they kind of have to get out of this mindset of the home run or bust, and they have to start building a construct line. And if that's not the case, if Cashman wants to roll out this similar squad, then maybe the Yankees have to think of getting a GM who's a little bit more recent, who wants to get back to the modern way of baseball, because that's the thing. Now you have to also imagine the shift being gone. That's going to change offense entirely this upcoming season. A lot of people are forgetting about that. So that can change your whole construction of your lineup. You plug maybe more lefty guys, whatever, but you need to get out of this mindset of home run or bust, because we've seen now, at least these last few postseasons, if the Yankees don't have anything going for them, which we just saw in this Astros lineup or this Astros series, they struggle mightily. And that's what happened. They just couldn't get the offense going. And then you're stuck, because most of these guys are these home run guys. And, Judge is an all-around hitter. We know that. He just had a very, very off postseason. But for the most part, I think, they have to really decide what they want this Yankees team to be going forward. And if they're back in the old ways, I think you really have to change things up. But if not, then you have to see what they do. But, I think they'll keep booting around. We'll see what happens with Cashman. I'm fine. Like you said, 20 plus years is a long time. Very, very long time. And he's a Hall of Fame, executive. He really is. But maybe it's time for a change, and you get a guy that comes in that thinks, okay, we're going to think of the modern way of baseball now, which is kind of analytic driven, but getting guys on base. And maybe that changes this whole Yankee dynamic. We don't know, but it definitely, as we've talked about many times, this home run or bust lineup has failed every single time.
And also to construct your lineup in a more modern, in a, I guess, classic way, like having Judge batting third and Stanton batting fourth. You need to have that now. Yeah. You need to bring it, because clearly the analytics for us didn't work. But we've seen plenty of other examples of analytics affecting other teams. Look at the Rays in the World Series in 2020. I know it's all about also developing your players now. And this we'll focus more on in an off-season podcast on baseball. But if you are going to re-sign Judge, which after this exit, you have to, or like I said, they're going to burn the place down. They're going to force you to sell the team. And the people will be enraged in the Bronx. Bronx will be burning again. So you're going to have essentially have the big three in Cole and Stanton already huge on the payroll, and you're going to add Judge to it. Well, you need to have you need to have somebody, whether it's Cashman or someone else, develop the farm system, because clearly that is the only way you're going to go if you're going to keep them. And you have to. That is literally your number one draw, is keeping Aaron Judge on the Yankees. And he's going to cost a lot, and it's definitely worth it. But we need to now develop this farm system like we did. And that essentially was the path we were going when the baby bombers were coming. All of them were, when it was first, you had Greg Bird and Judge and Gary Sanchez and such. Those guys were on that. And then we got on Carlos Stanton, and we went back to our old ways. And Stanton has, I think, so far has had a good Yankee career, but I think that has plagued them, and why we focused on the more power pop in your bat. So that's something to keep in mind. And we really need a lot of changes, because I'm sick of it. Everyone's sick of it. People who hate baseball are probably sick of it. And you got to get the Yankees back in a solid brand, like how the Giants made some changes this year. With their coaching and personnel, with a roster that is on paper not as stellar as you think. Time for the Yankees to do the same thing. And look at the Rangers as well. They cleaned house and made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So if everyone else around you is doing it, Hopefully the Knicks are. I don't know. That's the story.
We don't know what's going to. Yeah, that's another day. We'll see. Yeah, who knows?
But at least we'll focus on the Jets, Giants, and Rangers. 3 teams that made major changes within the last couple of years, and now they're winning.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mets, even though they fell short, they have a great future. Why can't the Yankees do the same?
Yeah, no, I agree. And the thing is like, yeah, and we're going with Mets. Like, I know the analytics. Like, when we brought Buck, like Buck is not known for being an analytic-driven manager, but what makes him also great is that and the front office brought in analytical people, obviously, to make him a little more comfortable. But he was kind of using analytics, but also his feel of the game. And I think that's what a lot of players on the Mets kind of appreciated was he talked to his stars when it mattered. He talked to his guys all the time. They were all communicative. He didn't go, I'm going to pull Lindor because he's batting 176 against lefties over these last 3 games. It was just like, all right, like, you need to step up. Okay, Lindor's like, all right, I got you. I'm going to step up, right? Like, so, we're seeing that. And like you said, if you look at the other teams, football with the Jets and Giants, like, coaching obviously matters. And with the Giants, especially, we're both big Giants fans. Like, we should not be winning these games. Okay, like we shouldn't. And we're scratching and clawing and doing all the big things that matters. Like yesterday, all Giants fans know we were all standing up that last 56 seconds. It felt like 2 hours. Like, we were all freaking out. But when it mattered, they made the play. Players on the 1-yard line, they drove Kirk out, right? Like, and that's an example of coaching. That's the thing that the Yankees might see. Like, all these franchises are making key changes, and they're all succeeding. And it might take a year or 2 years or whatever. Giants are lucky; it's their first year, and everything's going right now. But that could be a thing, right? That's what I'm saying. When I was talking about Cashman before, it's like, if the Yankees might decide, hey, like, maybe it's time to bring in a different face to lead this team, who might be a little bit more on the modern line, who might be a little bit younger. And who knows, they can hire him and he could be the next Cashman. He can be there for 20 years. But it's just, the thing is that you might have to get that process going, because as great as he's been in the regular season, and as much success as you guys had over his span, you haven't won a World Series title since 2009, right? So,
time ago.
It's a long time.
Now we're going to add 14 years to that.
And that could be the thing the Yankees are looking at. It's like, as great as you've been in the regular season, this roster just hasn't performed postseason after postseason after postseason. And it's great to win titles and pennants and all that stuff. But if you don't, or even, like AL East titles, and if you don't win pennants and you don't get to the World Series, then what's the point? It's 162 games. Yeah.
All the money they're making us spend too.
Exactly. And it's like, great. Yeah. We're the best regular season team ever. Cool. Awesome. But the fans don't want that. They don't want to be. They're not waiting all these games to sit there just to see you guys lose in the ALDS or the ALCS or whatever. You guys want to win rings, and this roster year in and year out just hasn't been enough to win. And like, that's the thing we see. And we've talked baseball, me and you, since we've known each other for a very long time. We've talked baseball almost every year, and it's like every year it's like we think the Yankees can. Like, they have the pieces to potentially win, but it hasn't been like, this is their year, right? Like, it's never been like, this is automatic. Like, we knew this year, the way the Astros are playing, we're like, we don't want them to win. We want the Yankees to win, but like, this is the Astros year. No one is stopping them unless Philly keeps on this miracle run, right? So, that's the thing. And that might be the change. Like you said, all these other franchises in New York have all made key changes. And right now that's correlated to some success. I know the Mets had a disappointing exit, but Jets are turning things around, and they've been miserable for a very long time. Giants have been miserable for 10 plus years. Rangers have the up and downs, but they clean house. They make it right to the East Conference Final. So, and their future is promising. So, that could be a sign, and that we have to see what Steinbrenner's do, but that could be the thing. He might see that and be like, okay, maybe enough is enough. It's been a great run, but maybe it's time to get a new voice in the office. We just have to see what comes these next few weeks.
Yeah, we'll just see if the Yankees really care about winning anymore, or it's all just a profit game. Because that's some of the criticisms people think, that this generation of Steinbrenners, they just care more about their pockets. Not as bad as like the Pirates owner, but
that's God. We can dive into a whole episode on that alone.
Seriously, but yeah, dude, like I said, it's clearly, if you want to change, make the change, or not, we're going insane. And What epic failures for both the Mets and Yankees, Alex. Just my last part of this before just a few words on the World Series. Like, how did I know at first when we first, especially in the middle of the season, when we talked to July on this, how like, wow, could this possibly be a Subway Series?
Yeah.
I don't know. It shows how different time is, how weird sports can be, how like it's so strange.
Yeah.
And
Baseball, especially, anything can happen.
uh I just need somebody to pick like who just knows these farm systems, especially like I said, Yordano Alvarez came in a trade from the Dodgers. And he's gonna be Big Poppy. And why can't our Yankees? Why can't we? Why we need both these teams to stop at the free agencies, especially. It's so exciting when we get someone big, but what's the point anymore? Like, I think for both, like we already did all of it on the Yankees, and I'm sure you could say on the Mets too. But like New York baseball, for all the cash that comes through both those major franchises, and how exciting it is. And yet they seem to make the same mistakes. But I do think the Mets are a little different because they are just a couple years into the Steve Cohen era. And I'm really excited to see what he does this offseason. But say he does try to go and, try to get Otani, for instance. I don't know what the situation is there. So I've heard even some rumors he might want to go back to Japan. But I hear that he's just not happy in LA. And I mean, maybe you want to go for Judge if you want to start that civil war, but I don't know there. But with so much expectations for New York baseball as a whole, I mean, where do we go from here after these real embarrassing losses for both their franchises?
I mean, I think we have some exciting prospects on both sides that we could be seeing soon, right? Like, we for the Mets, we tried out Francisco Alvarez, we had Brett Beatty up, um, Ronnie Mauricio. There's some moments still, there's talent there that's coming up. Yankees thing, you rolled out Oswaldo Cabrera. Yeah, Volpe, who could be on the team next year. We have to see about that.
Jason Dominguez.
Maybe Jason Dominguez. You have to see there, especially now this, you got to maybe be able to cut ties with Aaron Hicks and get done with that. And that maybe opens up a spot for him. Who knows? But, what's exciting, I guess, at least for me as a Met fan, is that, although Cohen has the money to spend and he says he'll spend it wisely, I think he's also being smart, or at least Billy Epler is being smart with not just throwing prospects away to get big names in trades. And I know I wanted the team to be a little bit more aggressive at the trade deadline, give up some lower level prospects, like our top guys. But I think what's exciting with the Mets going forward, they are trying to build a balanced team. And Cohen could have, just thrown money and slapped the team together and hope for the best. But it also seems like they're the holes that we had, they were plugging with some of the free agent signing. And I think they're going to continue to do that. And I think that's going to be their attack. I think you need to get some more arms. We have to see what happens with DeGrom. But I think there's something in place for the Mets, at least going forward, where it seems like there's something where we're going to be using some of our prospects and build a team around kind of that and some of the stars they already have. And I think the Yankees could do that too. They have some big prospects there too. And I think they're trying to shy away from splashing big money. But again, it's weird for the Yankees to not really spend big money. I think they're obviously going to try to lock Judge, and they really need to do that. But, some of the decisions that you kind of see floating around, we hear all these stories coming out recently with Yankees free agency from years past on, how they passed on Bryce Harper and decided to go in this direction, and then passed here and decided to trade for Josh Donaldson and decided to pass here.
Series.
And yeah, exactly. And it's like, they pass on Manny Machado because they didn't want to give him this, but then they decided to trade for Josh Donaldson that passed his prime and pay $20 million, whatever it was, right? So, it's going to be an interesting offseason. I think we're going to see that, and I'm excited to do a podcast about the offseason when we do updates. And, I think it's very disappointing, as it's obviously for both teams. But I think there's stuff here. I'm not nervous that and maybe as for you as a Yankee fan, you're nervous if Judge leaves, what the hell this team's gonna be. But I think there's stuff in place where both teams can be successful and be competitive. I think there's just some holes that they need to plug this offseason for both teams, especially the Yankees in terms of pitching. in some of their fielding, because that's what really bit them this postseason.
Yeah.
But we'll see. And again, we don't know. It's really early. I mean, the Mets,
Mhm.
we haven't really heard much yet. We haven't really heard that they've been talking to Grom. But with the Yankees, they just got exited, and we're not going to hear Cashman be like, "Yeah, I'm staying," or "I'm going to do this offseason." We're not going to know that, at least for a few weeks. So, I'm not staying too down, and I don't think you should either. It's disappointing. Like I said, I was very disappointed with the Mets. You're disappointed right now with the Yankees, but I think things can turn around for them in the offseason. They just have to be smart. And I think there's a lot of talent in both our farm systems that they need to keep on building. At least for a Mets fan, I'm always nervous, with Brody, like when we had Brody as our GM, where he was just like firing off, take our second best prospect for an old guy. And we're like, what the hell are you doing? Like, so.
Luckily, it seems historically that might have been okay for Diaz.
Yeah,
I
for
don't
Diaz, yeah.
think
But, yeah.
but yeah, dude,
Yeah.
what a time.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
what a time.
Yeah.
And we have a long winter. Hopefully, it goes quick, but a long winter ahead. Off season moves, and hopefully, it's we don't have a lockout to worry about. But
Yep.
both franchises need to take a hard look at the mirror.
Mhm.
And just looking ahead, real quick, a few words on the World Series that features two hated rivals. Yankees hated rival in Houston. And now you have the Phillies with a cool story. They replaced the manager. So we're going to have a solid couple years. See, you replace the manager, what it can
Yeah.
do.
See, there you go.
Perfect example
Yeah.
there. And I can't believe Joe Girardi really is commenting on the MLB Network. What a
It's so weird.
that's as whammy as it gets.
Yeah.
But Phillies routes San Diego, kill them at home. Everything clicks. Must suck seeing Zach Wheeler and Noah Syndergaard pitching in the World Series. Syndergaard again. JT Realmuto, who so many people wanted, he's in the World Series. Bryce Harper, I think, is on his way to being a top player again. Like, he was always a top player for sure, but his star dwindled a little, and now it's clearly back. Reese Hoskins is looking good. Bullpen was pretty solid. But Phillies and Astros, it's like picking your poison, literally. Do you want to drink bleach or do you want to drink laundry detergent? For anything in your level-headed mind, Alex, who do you want to see win this World Series?
I'm never going to root for Philly in anything. So I love the Astros. I mean, and I'm like me, and this is like me now as like older, where like back then we always would pick a team, but then when you're older, you're like, why the hell am I picking teams? We're just there to watch baseball. Like I'm not like rooting. It's just like I'm putting money on the Astros because I want them to win. It's like we're like if I had to pick, obviously, like if I'm going to pick a series winner, I'm going to go the Astros. But that doesn't mean I'm going to sit there and be like, Altuve hit a home run, yay! Like I'm not going to be cheering for them. But I can't root for Philly. It's the same thing that happened when I had to pick the lesser of two evils for the Super Bowl with the Patriots and the Eagles. I'm like, I'm not picking either of these teams. I would just like to see the Patriots win. And you know what? That didn't happen. The Eagles won, which was far worse for me. But I wasn't at rooted in there. I was like, all right, if I don't want to see the Eagles succeed. And the same thing, I don't want to see Philly succeed because then it's rubbing on our face because then that's back-to-back NL East champions that, or NL East teams that win the World Series. And it wasn't the Mets. So,
yeah, that's ironic, huh?
Yeah, it is ironic. But, so I'm not screaming and yelling and saying that I'm going to, want the Astros to win. I'm going to be rooting for them. I think the Astros are going to win the series. I think they'll win it in 6. But again, I keep on saying stranger things have happened in baseball, and the Phillies really hot. The Citizens was electric the other night. Bryce's that clutch home run, everyone was freaking out. So and I know people have said, oh, Bryce is the player he was. Bryce is still amazing. He's had like a early on hitting slump this year, and then he got hurt, and then he started to hit middle of this year. And then he got hurt, and then he came back and he was back to his MVP level, and then he just won NLCS MVP. So he's clearly raking, and he's always been a great hitter, and he's been a perennial MVP candidate in this league, and we all know how great he is. He could have been a Yankee, but he wasn't. He's a Philly, and now he's in the World Series. So, I think it's going to be exciting. I think the front end pitching on both sides is both really, really good. So that's going to be fun to see those matchups at least. But just the way the Astros are playing right now, they're like, above everyone. Just the way they're playing every single time, timely hitting. They've been, so good. And they have so much star power, and they've been here before. They have the experience of being in the World Series, so that's why I'm picking them. But that doesn't mean I'm rooting for them. I'm just there to
Fair
watch
enough.
some good baseball and hope the World Series is fun.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. My immature reason why I wouldn't want the Phillies to win, because someone in my life who used to be in my life was a big Phillies fan and don't even get that satisfaction, but whatever. So I'll admit that's an immature reason not to have them win. And then Astros being the Astros, and you know what just sucks? It's just Dusty Baker. I want to see him win a World Series.
Yeah,
and he's gonna get it.
yeah.
And finally, after over 40 plus years in baseball, and 25 years plus as a manager, always there, always kicking. This is his third World Series he will be a manager in. It'd be nice to see a great story of being resilient and pushing through. So I guess deep down, I'll have to go with the Phillies because I don't want to pick the Astros to win. Give them a reason, as painful as it is for me to say that. And I'll pick the Phillies in the Game 7. I'll just let it go down to the wire. Just watch something entertaining, and we'll go with that. And with both teams hot at the right time, it is a good matchup of stellar baseball teams who can hit in the clutch, who can pitch, who can field well. And yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Phillies in 7 on this one. So we'll take that. But Alex, congratulations once again on your engagement.
Thank you.
The future is bright. Glad you don't have to plan a wedding in the COVID era either.
Yeah.
So it can be nice and smooth. I'll check back in with you as we review this World Series and the offseason ahead, and hopefully have you on for some other shows as well, non-baseball and such. But until then, stay well, stay safe, and better days ahead for the both of us in terms of our baseball teams.
Yes, for sure.
And it's gonna be all right. Let's go Giants. New York Football Giants. Yep. That's all that matters now. Thank you, Alex. I'll catch you later, buddy.
Thank you for having me again. Thank you, Matt. Talk to you later.
Peace.